Hello, ABG is back, and today in our latest episode of Top 5 series, we are actually looking at board game expansions. And I think from this video onwards, we have taken some of the feedback and we will actually each take turn to share what is in our top 5. And we will list them in the order of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so that we kind of prevent some confusion when people are watching it. So, of course, if you haven't subscribed to us, please do subscribe to ABG. Click on the bell for notification so that you will be receiving notification as soon as our videos are up. Yep, and today with us, we have long-term recurring guest, Geoffrey.
Hi.
Yep, we have Isaac, who you have seen in one of our previous videos on top 5 games aspiring designers should play.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, we have Ouyang.
Hi.
Ouyang actually is with Origame, who has provided us some games for us to actually look at, and they are quite a big working partner that we have here at ABG. So, this is the lineup for today, and because it's expansion, obviously, we will not go so much into talking about what the base game does, but instead, we will actually be sharing more of how the expansion actually upgrades or lifts up the gameplay from the base game. Yeah, so that's what we will be doing in this video. And without further ado, I will get Geoffrey to share his number 5 pick.
Alright, my number 5 is an expansion of one of my favorite games called Baron Park. So the expansion will be called Baron Park The Bad News Bears, which is designed by Phil Walker Harding, and publisher is Lookout Games, I believe. Yeah, so for the base game, every turn players will get one tile and place it onto your own park. Alright, in Tetris style. So what does this expansion does? Of course, you get, there are more tiles available. Okay, so there are some special tiles. For example, you get to build an interesting structure of monorails that gives you more points. You have an additional park. Let's call it the park board. Yeah, I can't remember what is it called. Yeah, but the base game has 4 areas to build your park. And for this expansion, you have a 5th area, which there is an exit sign. Therefore, right, you cannot expand around within that exit area. Yeah. So why I would like to recommend this as my number 5 pick is because the base game is already exciting, but however, right, the expansion does add a lot of decision making. When it comes to picking up the type of tiles you have, because the new tiles are actually a lot more larger than other tiles in the base game. So therefore, right, you have a lot of considerations to think of, when you're trying to fit in your park area in Tetris style. Yeah, and of course, there are a lot of ways to earn more points, so that there could be better catch-up mechanics when the expansion is included. Yeah, so that's my number 5, Baron Park, The Bad News Bears. Yeah.
Alright, so we'll then move on to Isaac's number 5 pick. Nobody has a crossover for Baron Park? Calling one,
Nope.
Twice, nope. Okay. So Isaac, your number 5th pick?
Okay, my number 5 pick is actually a crossover with my previous list. So my number 5 pick is the Undercover Allies expansion for Deception Murder in Hong Kong. So Deception, like I've mentioned on the previous list, is a wonderful hidden role game with a very nice twist where you're using basically kind of a word game, and one player is like, he knows the answer and is trying to help his team guess, and then the other player is trying to figure out the murderer through like what the guesses are. So what the Undercover Allies expansion does is it adds a few new things, but the one key thing it adds is the additional roles of the Inside Man and the Lab Tech. So already the Deception, it had a really good dynamic with the forensic scientist, the murderer, then you throw in the witness and the accomplice. It was really fun. And then now you throw in the Inside Man and the Lab Tech, it becomes it's amazing. It becomes this like really it's almost like a Hong Kong drama, crime drama, where everyone's something like internal affairs where everyone is like suspicious of each other. It's just a really great atmosphere for a hidden role game like that. And he also throws in a bunch of new cards, which is good for adding the variety. He also add some new events. Those I'm not really so hot on, but it's really the additional roles and the extra cards that really make this, to me, quite an essential expansion for Deception Murder in Hong Kong. And that's my number 5 pick.
Alright. Still no crossover, okay. Don't think anyone was picking up to mention that they have Deception Murder in Hong Kong's expansion inside. So then we will move on to Ouyang's number 5 pick.
For my number 5 pick is Cheesy Gonzalez, the expansion for Château Roquefort. It's quite an old game. It's the first few game that make use of the box as a game. So in the game, we are playing as mice to collect cheese in the castle. So it's a bit of dexterity. You move the tiles away and you try to get your opponent's mice into the hole. But the problem with the base game is that the storage. Because every time you end the game, you put the tokens and the mice inside the box with the holes, and for every new game, it's difficult to take out. So the expansions adds a storage solution to it. That's what I meant. That's the most important reason why I get this for that expansion. So that's my number 5 pick, Cheesy Gonzalez.
Hey, I thought there will be a crossover for this event.
Actually, I'm quite surprised for that there is an expansion for that game. I actually own the base game, and I have no idea that game has an expansion. Because of how the game's designed. I like the pushing mechanics of the the slotting mechanics in the game. It's quite interesting. So, all right, I think this one game that probably I can look up to in future.
Yeah, so I mean, for videos like this, it's not just the viewers that will benefit. Even for some of us sitting here, there may be expansions that we haven't heard ourselves or we haven't played ourselves. So that's where we are also here to discuss and get to know more games out there. Yeah. So all right, then I'll move on to my 5th pick. My 5th pick is the only Asian game I have out of my 5, and the base game is Machikoro. So the expansion, Harbor expansion. So to me, Harbor expansion, it adds so much more depth to the game of Machikoro, and more importantly, it actually adds a 5th player to the game. Even though kind of the game, if you have the base cards, you technically can have many players playing. But then the key thing is that they actually added enough cards to make the math work for a 5th player, and also what the Harbor card and the airport card does is actually quite a bit for the overall gameplay, because to me, when I actually encountered with Harbor expansion, it then became a broken game to me. Okay, but let me qualify what I'm saying like that, because originally when I played the original version of Machikoro, I wasn't able to find a winning mechanics all the time. But the key thing is that the game was kind of oversimplified based on what was given. I mean, to some, if you are starting out, it's a good game to start out with. But with the Harbor expansion, it actually adds the 5th player, adds in more cards, and because of how airport function, they kind of, if you actually manage to accumulate your 30 coins quick enough, such that subsequently from then you don't build things and you just keep getting 10 coins from the airport every turn, it becomes very quickly you can win the game from there. Yeah, but then of course that is just after you play the game enough to know that there is a way to win, and to me that is kind of a very broken way of winning the game. But ultimately, if they didn't add that in, the whole gameplay will feel a bit too bland, because that actually adds a new strategy or a new kind of dominant strategy where people actually play. But then Machikoro has been always a very good game for people to start off with. It's a very good gateway game for new joiners to the game, to the world of board gaming, because of how it looks, the simple gameplay, and also to me, when I was looking for one very distinct Asian game to that has an expansion, Machikoro came to mind. Yeah, so my fifth pick is Machikoro Harbor expansion. Yep. Okay, so no crossover still.
So
But seems like all our games, the games that we all like are quite different from each other, maybe.
yeah, I actually started my number 5 game with a game that I don't really have much to comment on. Yeah, so in the later games, yeah, I do have more things to comment on. Yeah, so maybe
Alright.
we might interesting later.
Without further ado, we are back with you, Geoffrey, on your number 4th pick.
Alright, my number 4 is actually quite interesting. Why? Because it's a game where I do recommend everyone to buy all the expansions of that game, as well as to use a different game as as a type of expansion for this game. So what game am I talking about? I've mentioned that game in the earlier episodes. If I'm not wrong, is the top 5 game aspiring designers should play. Okay, so this game is called Mysterium. Alright, so to list out all the expansions, right? Okay, one of the expansions is called Secret and Lies. The other expansion is called Hidden Signs. Yeah. So why do I recommend buying both? Is because it doesn't change the gameplay at all. So basically, it's actually adding more picture cards. It's actually adding more weapons, more locations, more potential murderers, right? So for Mysterium-based game, it can get a little dull if you continuously looking at the same cards. All right. So of course, to get more picture cards, right, you make things a lot more interesting, and also make it a lot more replayability. Yeah. And of course, the artwork for Mysterium is quite awesome to the point whereby you can actually buy, the expansion as artwork itself. Yeah, if you appreciate, that type of art, yeah, the art is actually very impressive. The theme, it is very consistent, right? And I did mention to use another game for Mysterium, and that is called Dixit, plus all the expansions. Okay, of course, you can try to use all the Dixit picture cards as the ghost cards. Yeah, I tried many sessions with Dixit cards before, and I can tell you it is quite interesting. It actually provide a new level of challenge. Yeah, because some of the clues are not very obvious, and it is recommended for experienced Mysterium players. Yeah, but however, the key thing for this list, right, is to recommend all of you to buy both Hidden Signs and Secret and Lies for Mysterium. So that's my number 4.
So that's Geoffrey's number 4.
Yeah.
Next, we'll move on to Isaac's number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is not a crossover in my previous list. It's the second expansion for the base game known as Elder Sign. Alright, so the first expansion was Unseen Forces. It added basically more content to the base game. Nothing much new, just a bunch of new characters, new monsters, new everything. But what the second expansion did that was really cool was that it kind of changed the entire deck of location cards from the base game to a totally different deck. And it added a new mechanic where in the base game you knew every location you went to, you knew exactly what the challenges were. In the expansion, everything was face down. What it did was it added a clue on the back to tell you okay, when you go here you can expect this, you go here and expect that. So it made what was kind of not say a very simple game, but it was quite easy to beat most of the time. And for cooperative games, you tend to want challenge, and it basically took that challenge, it ramped it up 0.5 to double, and it made it a lot more interesting, a lot more fun, and a lot more for a game like that, a lot more unpredictable. And for a game with a Cthulhu theme, you definitely want unpredictable. So yeah, it really changed it up, and I totally didn't expect that. I chose this one instead of the next few expansions, who all have the same thing, because I think this is the one that really that twist really made the most impact on me. The newer ones are not bad also, but this is the one that I recommend because it's the kind of the originator of the new mechanic. So yeah, the Gates of Arkham expansion for Elder Sign.
Okay, still no crossover. Interesting.
Interesting.
So let's move on to Ouyang's number 4.
Okay, for my number 4 is King of Tokyo Power Up. Basically, King of Tokyo is a dice rolling King of the Hill game. But in the base game, all the characters are the same. There's no special power, but the expansion power up acts the evolution card will make each master interesting. Although in the base game, there's a small chance that you roll the heart, which give you life, and sometimes you have nothing to do because you just happen to roll the hearts. But in the expansion, rolling 3 hearts will give you more evolution card, and special power, and make the game much fun. So that's my number 4 pick, King of Tokyo power up.
Would you always add the expansion anytime you teach the game, or do you think it's something that you would still optional?
No, I will add it always.
Yeah, because to me that's like quite essential. It's like it makes the base game a lot more interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, for some reason I missed out adding power up into my list. But well, I have 4 other solid games also that I feel that expansions are important. So yeah, but if if I would have reordered my list, power up and harbor expansion probably will be side by side in terms of number 5, and I probably wouldn't be able to decide which one would come into my list. But anyway, my number 4th pick is for a game that has 13 expansions. The latest of their expansion is January of this year. But out of 13 of the expansions, I picked this one because it makes the whole game a lot more fun, just purely because you can do a lot more things with the kind of the currency that you can get in the game, and it also changes kind of how the end game works. And the game that I'm referring to is Dominion and the expansion Prosperity. So in Prosperity, other than the fact that you have more and more expensive cards that you can buy from the kind of like the marketplace or the market area, they introduced 2 cards, 2 kingdom cards, which is Platinum, your more valuable kind of a currency card, much more valuable than the three value gold that can buy you. And they also added in Colony, which obviously it gives you more points, more victory points towards the end of the game, and it adds a new way to end the game. If the Colony stack runs out, the game also would trigger end game. So to me, Prosperity, out of all the various expansions, I think if you are a Dominion fan, you probably would rank all the expansions in some way. To me, I don't have all 13 of them. I have 4 of the expansions. And to me, when I rank those that I have, Prosperity actually was the one that is the most well received. And also, I think, to be honest now, even whether I do play Prosperity or not, the Platinum and the Colony cards will automatically come into the base game when I play any game. So if I do teach Dominion to anyone, it's just a matter of fact that Platinum and Colony exist in the whole world. So that's how I feel that it changes the game itself, because it added some element that I will never remove from the base game.
Just curious, which 4 expansion do you own?
I own Empire, Adventures, Seasiders, and Prosperity. And I don't own the base Dominion game.
You own Intrigue lah.
Yeah, I have Intrigue because it was kind of like to be honest, Intrigue is probably the first deck builder game I ever owned, and at that point in time, actually, to be honest, buying Dominion, the game itself is not so commonly found out there. I think only 2 or 3 or 4 retailers in Singapore, whole Singapore, actually stocks in Dominion. So,
I also own 4 expansion also. With one base game lah.
Oh, for example. So is any expansion in your listing?
No.
Okay.
Just happen like own Intrigue, Prosperity, Seaside, and Hinterlands.
Hinterland.
Hinterland, the one. Yes. After that, I stopped following Dominion really. Too many cards.
I think one day you can do a top 5 deck builders.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, when a game can actually reach a point that it releases 13 expansion,
yeah,
also a sign that it's a popular enough game for for them to continue to build on the original IP and still building on the whole game itself. So yeah, but my fourth pick, Dominion Prosperity. Okay, so we'll move back to Geoffrey's number 3.
All right. Okay, my number 3 game is an expansion for two of my favorite games. One is called King Domino and one is called Queen Domino. So this expansion is so interesting to the point that it can be applied to both King and Queen Domino. However, right, the title is called King Domino Age of Giants. Yeah, so do take note that this expansion can be used for Queen Domino as well. So what does this expansion do, right, is they include giants. What does the giants do? They stomp on crowns. Okay, so one giant covers a crown. And what does the crown do? The crown gives points according to how you develop each terrain. Yeah, so basically, King Domino Age of Giants, right, create this cutthroat element because the base game there isn't much of a sabotage. The only sabotage is, somebody took your town. Yeah, okay, but this expansion creates, another interesting way to, sabotage somebody who is leading or you felt is leading. All right. There is also another way to earn more points. The expansion should include another, let's say, I think it's 2. Yeah. So there'll be 2 more so-called game objectives to earn more points. Yeah. So there'll be 2 random game objectives based on memory. Yeah. So there is a lot of replayability. Yeah. And of course, like I said, you can play with both king and queen, and it doesn't make a game even more complex. Yeah, and yet it creates a lot more strategic factor when you play this these games. So that's my number 3, King Domino Age of Giants.
Hey, I was so close to putting King Domino and Queen Domino inside, but I was going to do it such that Queen Domino is the expansion for King Domino where you play in a royal marriage. Because of the amount of players, you can expand it out. But then, but then it goes back to the question for Century series. Then are they all expansions for each other?
Right.
So that's where I decided against it because
but I don't consider Queen Domino as an expansion because it is a standalone.
It is a standalone. It is its own game lah. Okay, so let's then move on back to Isaac for his third pick.
Right, my third pick is the Merryman expansion for my favorite bluffing game, Sheriff of Nottingham. So Sheriff of Nottingham is a very fun game where it's basically about putting cards into a bag and trying to convince your friend not to open the bag. Or maybe you are double bluffing and actually you want him to open the bag and then pay you the fine because everything is legal inside your bag. So the expansion contains 5 modules, and in order of the least to most favorite, there is the special orders, which is like a way to get additional money if you get a certain combination of goods. That's okay, it's not that great. There's the laws. The laws add cards that are like event cards of the game. Not bad. The Merryman, which are like special characters you can smuggle in and you get special abilities. That's quite fun. I like to add that in. Then there's the deputies, which basically add 6 players. 6 players in a party game like Sheriff of Nottingham, definitely very good. But the number one thing that it adds is definitely the black market, which is a way that rewards players for smuggling illegal cards. Because to me, a big problem in the base game was it encourages you to go legal, and it makes the entire illegal route of smuggling contraband goods not very fun. And with the black market module in the expansion, it makes like contraband really worthwhile. So you actually smuggle in like the red color contraband goods, it becomes like really, really worthwhile. And it then makes that bluffing aspect of the game more fun because now there's like people really want to smuggle the illegal stuff, right? So yeah, that's the Merryman expansion for Sheriff of Nottingham.
Okay, and we have our first crossover because Sheriff of Nottingham Merryman is my second pick.
Okay.
I mean, Isaac already mentioned a lot of the portion, and the way he ranked his top 5 is kind of similar to how I will rank them within the modules. But I just like to add this statement to why this expansion is good. It's so essential that now it's part of the second edition.
Yes, that's true.
They put it as one game because that's just how it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my second pick. So it's Isaac's third pick. Yeah, Sharing of Nottingham, Merryman.
In fact, one game that I almost put in my list but I didn't. My number 6 pick was actually the Kingsburg expansion, which same thing, second edition included in. So it was so good that it just like, you know what, let's just throw it in. So yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to Ouyang's third pick.
To me, all my pick is the expansion is essential to the game, so I will not remove it from the base game. Expansion should be add more content to make the game great without too much complexity. So my next game is Glory to Rome Republic expansions. It took them 7 years to have this expansion to fix the cards. I'm talking about the older version, not the black box Glory to Rome. So in the original base game, there's a card called Colosseum, where you can attack the players, and once the players be attacked, you have no way you cannot come back already. Sure. And there's another overpowering card where you have quite easily can win the game without scoring points. When you reach this condition, you're able to build this building, the forum, you just win the game. So the expansion replaces some of the cards to sort of balance out, so make the game more fun for everyone. So that is my number 3 pick, Glory to Rome Republic expansion.
Okay. To me, I'm still trying to own a copy of the black box. And
that one you have to pay like $200.
I think the only one seller in Singapore for the black box is $300.
Oh, that's even more overpriced.
Not worth it. I bought this.
I think you can just print your own cheaper.
But different if you know what.
Yeah, true.
Do you want to own a print and play?
You have the PDF.
Carousel, there's one seller selling the Polish edition, the best artwork one.
Oh yeah, that's a very cool one.
Yes.
But actually, I like the black box artwork. That's why.
Oh, I prefer the old cartoony artwork.
I don't like the cartoony.
The strange artwork.
It takes away from the to me at least it takes away from Glory to Rome. Then the artwork is cartoon. So deceiving that.
Yeah. That looks like design in PowerPoint.
I think one day I also want to try the expansion of that game, Glory to Rome. Yeah, because now you mentioned it, I played the base and I had to play expansion before. Yeah, so and consider it as well.
Okay, so let's move on to my third pick. My third pick, it's a game that, I think to a lot of people, it's kind of an essential game in everyone's collection, and that is Tzolk'in, Mayan Calendar, Tribes and Prophecies. So this game, to be honest, this is I think the newest expansion I own. Yeah, and I put it in number 3 because it fixed kind of a lot of the problems that I feel the base game had, and also games that add extra player count for a very narrow player count helps. So now you can play 5 players with Tribes and Prophecy, and within there you actually have some not too complex ways to now modify the game, where you have tribes, kind of like a ability that each player gets that will stay on with you for the rest of the game. And also with the prophecies, you also can actually have some modifier that if you don't prepare yourself for it, you actually can potentially lose points. So to me, it adds quite a bit of a change to the base game, such that, like what Ouyang mentioned earlier, it's the kind of game that now I wouldn't really play without the expansion. I probably it's probably very difficult for me to revert and just play the base game. And to be honest, it won't be a game that I take out and teach someone new to board game and to board game the engine. So myself, if I'm going to be playing it, I will definitely be playing with the expansion straight up lah. So yeah, that's my third pick. So we're done with number 3, and next we will move on with second pick. And Geoffrey, your second pick will be?
All right, my number 2 pick will be an expansion for an underrated game, which is Out of Sky. Yeah, so apparently Out of Sky is a game where some people love it, some people hate it, but for me, I love it a lot. Okay, but I'm not, okay, so to briefly describe what's the base game about, you take a tile, you not take a tile, you purchase a tile or a few tiles and you lay out your kingdom and you earn points according to what's the requirement, how you place the tile. Okay, so the reason why some people hate that game, right, is because I personally felt that it's because the catch-up mechanics is quite, I'm not saying bad, but quite disadvantageous to people who are losing behind. Why? It's because when a player earns a lot in the earlier rounds because of how that person plays a tile, in the later rounds, right, that winning player, right, will earn the same huge score for that requirement. Yeah, so which is why I mentioned the catch-up mechanics is quite an issue for that game. Yeah, so I'm going to so there are 2 expansions. I'm going to name one of them. Yeah, so I can't possibly, every single list. I'll ask everyone to buy all the expansions. Okay, so for Out of Sky, I'm going to recommend Out of Sky Druids. Yeah, there's a Journeyman and Druids, but I'll recommend Druids instead. Yeah, Journeyman is good. Yeah, but why I pick Druids out of Journeyman, right? Is because for Out of Sky base game, right, the purpose of coins or money is just to buy tiles. Or to, let's say, if there's a specific tile you pick and you want it at all costs. So to avoid other players buying a tile, you have to offer a large amount yourself. Okay, so basically, the purpose of coins in the base game isn't that much. Yeah, but for Druids, right, you can actually use coins to buy additional Druid tiles. And this way, you can actually help you earn more points, through different objectives provided by the expansion. Yeah, so I would like to, maybe I'll explain it until here because it will take too long if I explain, what's the gameplay for Druids. Yeah, but in general, it's basically more tiles, okay, that gives you more points for each round. Yeah, and this can help you, resolve a bit of this catch-up mechanics issue. Yeah, so that's my number 2 pick, Out of Sky Druids.
Okay, so next we'll move to Isaac's second pick.
Okay, my second pick is an expansion for basically one of my most favorite games. It's an expansion for 7 Wonders. So which expansion this is? There's like I think 4 or 5 expansions at this point. It's a bit controversial because I don't think a lot of people list this as their favorite, but my favorite is by far the Leaders expansion for 7 Wonders. For one very simple reason, because I find Leaders just adds that additional dimension of strategy because like unlike say Cities or like the more recent the Naval one, the Leaders immediately have an impact because you draft them at the start and then you immediately know, it gives you a direction. Because I find the biggest problem when I teach new players 7 Wonders is that they tend to be like, I don't know what card to play. Like, should I play the blue card or the green card? Once you have Leaders, right, it gives you the direction. Okay, like I chose like Leonidas, the military leader. Like, okay, I'm going to play military. I'm going to conquer the world. It gives you like a very good direction. But for advanced players, it gives you additional layer of strategy. Like, okay, like I can combine these cards with my Wonder, or I can have this specific combination that gives me like a lot of additional points. And I really appreciate that additional thing that it does. And even if the Leaders you get sucked, you just put them as like dig them in your Wonder, or like use it to discard for coins, it's basically one additional card you can play. And more importantly, also as someone who I really like history, just having all these historical figures in the game just makes it a lot more interesting. It's fun when you play a card and say, oh, I play Caesar or I play Cleopatra. It's just fun. And it adds character to the game. So to me it's like the most essential expansion out of all of them. Okay, and that's the Leaders expansion for 7 Wonders.
Okay, I almost have this in.
Leaders also.
I was actually lying more to Cities just purely on the fact that it's another player count. But actually, 7 is already a big player count compared to games that only have 4 players, and then you add the 5th player. That makes quite a bit of a numerical difference versus 7 and 8. Because to be honest, most of the time, if you have a gaming group of 8 or more people, you'll just be playing 2 different games at one time, rather than
that's true.
one 8-player game. So and it was close, and in the end, I chose not to include that. Yeah, it was
been our second crossover.
Yeah, it was a struggle. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So we will move to Ouyang's second pick.
My next pick is the expansion for 5 tribes, the Artisans of Nakala. This expansion adds the extra tribe, making 6 tribes, the purple tribe. For me, I enjoy all the modules in this expansion, including the specialized market, the mountain terrain, and all other new genie and everything. So the purple tribe now, in a way, balance it, because in the base game, the white tribe, holding the genie is quite powerful. It has special powers. So now with the purple tribe, there's special items, but it's random. So everyone can, on a certain point of time, you can play the special item to have special effects. So you also give a very strong advantage. So I enjoy this like secret hidden power that you can use on your turn. So this is one of my must-have expansion for the game. 5 tribe Artisan of Nakala.
My only problem with this expansion is that it makes the name wrong. It's no longer 5 tribes.
Yes, but I enjoy the board now. I know it's a 6x6 instead of 5x6.
Yeah, that makes it more fun.
They should have called it 5 tribes, but now we call it 6.
6 tribes.
6 tribes. Artisan of Nakala.
Yes, the Artisan of Nakala.
Alright, so next will be me, but my second pick have already been mentioned, Sharing of Nottingham, Merryman. So very quickly, we will go back to Geoffrey with your number 1 pick.
My number 1 pick. Okay, my number 1 pick, I still have to break this rule of recommending to buy all the expansions for this game. I'll state my reason later. Okay, this game is one of my favorite games as well. It's called Istanbul. So they have 2 expansions. One is called Mocha and Bakshish. Not very sure whether I pronounced correctly. And the other is called Letters and Seals. Okay, the reason why I recommended both expansions is because for Istanbul there is a big box version. So for anyone who don't have this game in Istanbul, right, please buy the big box edition because it is cheaper than buying all together. Buying a base and buying 2 separate expansions. Yeah. So and that's the reason why I recommend 2 expansions, because I would like to recommend people buying the big box instead. Yeah. Okay. So what does both? Okay. So to summarize, what does both expansions do is it doesn't really change much of the gameplay, but it adds additional ways to earn rubies. Yeah. So for the Mocha expansion, okay, it added a new resource called the coffee beans. This is coffee, coffee bean, whatever you call it. Yeah. So and the letters, included collection of letters to earn, to exchange to earn rubies as well as more coins. And one interesting thing about letters, right, is if you have 3, let's say, stamps or letters, okay, you can actually pay 3 stamps to have an additional turn. Yeah, so there is some interesting factor. Okay, so it does give some add-on, but it doesn't complicate the whole game. It still felt like the same game. Yes, it expands from 4x4 to 5x5. It's bigger, yeah, but but that doesn't mean that the game will be longer. The game will be too complicated. No, it just basically gives you, let's say, more strategic decisions. So let's say, for example, somebody got a ruby from a certain town. You might need to, you might end up thinking, why must I spend more, to get that new ruby? Why not I go to another new place? Yeah, provided by expansion. Yeah, so it actually, adds a lot more. It adds a lot more, how can I call it? Adds a lot more depth, adds a lot more strategic decisions. Yeah. So that's how I summarize this game, and I highly recommend everyone to get the big box version of that game. So that's my number 1 pick: Istanbul, Mocha and Bakshish, and Letters and Seals together in a big box. Yeah.
Okay. So, Isaac, your number 1 pick?
Okay, my number one pick is, I would say, almost quite widely regarded as an essential expansion for a very popular worker placement game. The game is Champions of Midgard. Right, so Champions of Midgard is a very entry-level worker placement game where you collect resources and then you spend those resources to get more Viking warriors, which are actually dice, and then you roll these dice to fight monsters. So the expansion I'm talking about here, there's two expansions, but definitely the one that almost everyone thinks is essential is the Valhalla expansion, for one simple reason. In the base game, when you roll badly, your warriors died, you basically it was like, okay, you roll badly, so there's nothing you can do, right? Yeah. The Valhalla expansion actually gives you tokens. Every time a warrior dies, you gain tokens, which are like the spirits of the warriors, and then you can then spend those tokens as a currency to then buy some really powerful cards. So it adds this basically, I wouldn't say it's a catch-up mechanic, but it gives you more interesting decisions. When your warriors die, it's not just like you shrug and like, okay, there's nothing I could do, but now it's like you have something additional to think about. So it then adds additional dimension to the game. And other than that, it also adds in like new dice, new monsters, new things you can do. So overall, it's just, I will never play the game without this expansion. This is something I'll always add into the base game, even with new players. Because to me, it just smoothens the curve and it just makes the game a lot more fun. And the game is really fun, it just makes it a lot more fun. And yeah, the small shout out to the other expansion, I think it's called Dark Mountains. It's not bad. It adds like the additional archer dice and the archer board, which is pretty interesting, but definitely doesn't compare to the Valhalla expansion, which is basically just don't. If you buy the base game, just buy the Valhalla expansion. You won't regret it. And yeah, that's the expansion for Champions of Midgard.
Okay. So now, Ouyang, your number one pick.
My number one pick. I should cheat a bit because I'm not sure you call it expansion. Because it's only available on the BGG available in the Spielbox magazine. Small expansion. You cannot buy it. So it's the expansion for Turn and Taxi, the Princess Messenger. It comes in very small, this small Ziploc box.
Okay.
Very small.
You can't really see because of
Yeah. There's a few tokens and this horse. There's much about it.
Oh, okay.
So in the base game, it's a route building hand management game. In the base game, every turn you can use one of the 4 officials to help. But after playing many times, most experienced player will choose not to play the administrator, which wash away the board and more cards will be available, similar to Ticket to Ride. So you have cards to city to choose from, city card to choose from. So most players will choose not to use the official to help, or because of a tactical purpose. So, but this mini expansion, in a way forces you to use all the 4 officials to help to gain more power. It speeds up the game. This game doesn't. You also add a race element because there are letter tokens all around the board in each city. So the first time you place an office there, you can claim the letter. Which with the letters you can use the power multiple times. In the base game, you can only use 1 official in each turn. But now, with every 2 letters, you can use another official to help. So you may also like draw 2, play 2 in a single turn. While in the base game, you can only draw 2, play 1. So I enjoy this expansion very much, and it's also me and my wife first purchase game in a retail shop. It's our first Turn and Taxi. So it holds dear in our heart. We play it hundreds of times already. So my first and my number one choice is Turn and Taxi, Princess Messenger.
Okay. So now my number one pick. Actually, to be honest, right, my number one pick, right. The reason why I'm picking it, after I review it, y'all will be like, oh, to me, it's not really what it adds to the game, but more like what it should have been to begin with, in the base game itself. And well, there's 2 different expansions, but it's for 2 different base games. And the game that I'm referring to is Tickets to Ride. Either if you have the USA version, 1910, if you have the Europa version, 1912. To be honest, why I picked this as my number one pick? Because the stupid train cards should have been the big cards to begin with. Of it being the mini US size. So that's the key crux reason why I picked this game, because to be honest, when I first played this game, especially when you use good 100 micron sleeves on your train cards, you cannot play the game properly because they can't even the cards can't even stay in like that. They're just sliding off each other.
Sliding off, yes.
And then when you get to see, and it just causes a problem. And because it's the kind of game where potentially players actually stockpile cards, train cards, until they feel that it's time to build a route. You just have a multitude of hands. I mean, maybe that was the original idea because people are going to have so many cards, so let's give them smaller cards. But that creates a different problem for it being a small card. So to me, it's not so much of what game elements the expansion. I mean, of course, it comes with some new routes and all, and it has the mystery route and all that kind of thing that it adds to the game. But to me, the bigger cards, which I think, I don't think the reprint actually has the bigger cards because they're still reprinting it with the smaller one and make you buy the expansion. But I feel that there should be some
Strange
combined expansion or combined edition such that we can actually have the 1910s version inside. I think only the 10th anniversary one or one of the anniversary version or Marklin has the bigger cards. But but to be honest, the problem with that is that it's expensive because the game is not your normal ticket to ride price, and I mean people will just choose to buy the base game and the expansion because it's cheaper.
I do own Marklin, but I can't remember the card size.
Yeah, I think it's one of the two editions that had the larger one, and of course because I already have the base game, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to buy that. I mean, of course, the map expansions and all that. I think they have 7 kind of map expansions you can buy for the game. So obviously, all that changes the element a bit here and there over the cost of all the different maps. And but then then it will become a situation that I'm recommending so many expansions to a game. And each of them then become, to be honest, they could have sold the train sets with any of the map collection, and that becomes a new base game, to be honest.
I know of a board gamer who the wife restrict him to buy more games, but it's okay for expansion. So he owns all expansion of Ticket to Ride. Because you cannot buy new game, expansion okay, expansion then it's just one whole shelf of Ticket to Ride. The wife cannot complain.
So the plan
you can buy like Terraforming Mars. Oh, this is the Mars expansion.
Yes.
I'm sure he also have Dominion, right, with 13 expansions.
I'm not sure. I remember.
And one skin with I don't know, the X number of expansion, it does come with all the various packs.
Yes.
Actually, to be honest, I honestly wanted to put Alhambra expansion inside my number 1 pick for expansion value. But the problem with that is because the first version of Alhambra I own is the big box. So for me to pick out one expansion to talk about it, it became extremely difficult because I like one from one of the expansion because they are all modular. I like 3 or 4 from all different kinds. Yeah, it's very difficult for me to say, then you buy all 5 or you buy big box. So that's why I decided to relook at my listing. I'm like, okay, what game if don't have the expansion, it becomes a very difficult to play game. Then I realized Ticket to Ride is that game because really the cards are just.
Actually, I'm quite surprised. I'm quite surprised. There's one game I thought one of you would at least have it on. Yeah, because this game is supposed to be number 1, but the reason why I do have that game is because I've forgotten the rules already. I only played it once. Okay, so that game is actually called Tuscany, Viticulture Tuscany.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I played the expansion only once. I like it a lot, but because I did play for so long ago, I totally forgot how to play. Yeah, but when I see Sebastian, invited us for top 5 expansion, the first game I thought of is that game, and I forgotten how to play that game. I'm like, shit.
I only played the game once and with Tuscany also, so I'm not sure what is the difference.
I understand. Yeah.
The main reason I don't have it is because I don't really like viticulture in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't really like actually most of Stone Meyer's games. I don't know why. It's just his designs are not something I really appreciate for some reason. Yeah.
Actually, that's for board games. It's really how to say 见仁见智啦. Yeah. So for example, I like Set Light's Dominion. I totally hate it. So I mean, is it a bad game or what? No, it's not. It's just different taste lah, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's your kind
It's
of.
like music, yeah. It's like
It's
music.
like music, correct? Yeah. Yeah.
I was surprised Isaac never include any of Concordia's expansion.
You see, that's actually a different list I'll make. Games I won't buy expansion. To me, Concordia, I think I will just play the base. I think it's good
agree
enough.
with
Yeah.
Concordia, I prefer the base without expansion. The expansion is a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Because I own the base game, I have not bought any expansion yet.
Yeah. Don't bother.
Yeah, okay, so that kind of wraps up our top 5 with one bonus game that Geoffrey have thrown up, which is Viticulture Tuscany. But I think to a lot of people out there, maybe you don't even know what the base game is like, because the first time you probably played it, you already play it with the expansion. So I think that becomes a problem with for a lot of people. Is the first time they play a certain game, because it's probably someone more established or more experienced teaching them the game. They don't know what the base game look like anymore, because they have never been taught the base game.
It's essential to it.
It's so essential that we just disregard the fact that the base game is like that. Yeah. Like, I'm sure a lot of my friends will never ever know how Machiboro base game is ever, just purely because I will never ever present it to play it with them in that manner anymore. If I do play, so like what Ouyang said, I don't think he'll ever play King of Tokyo without power up, unless he's really trying to teach the really new to games. But even
really young, I'll play another game.
Yeah, so the fact that you will choose the game, you'll probably include the expansion. So I think that's how we see value in some of the expansions. And okay, good stuff. This tells me I need to go and buy the 5-track expansion, because 5-track is one of my favorite games, but I haven't.
6 stripes. 6 stripes.
Just buy the artisan. I think there are 2 more expansion, the Thief, which I don't like, and there's another one that add extra player, the latest one.
We've come to the end of an episode of Top 5. If you enjoyed the series, do give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, subscribe to us, and we hope that you actually get to enjoy games with many more expansions. And we hope to see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.